Episode 54. The villagers stood or squatted, and some, with no regard for propriety, simply sat on the ground. They gathered in small clusters, some whispering amongst themselves, others arguing at the top of their lungs, while still others kept casting envious glances into the courtyard. Seeing this familiar scene, Han Li felt a wave of disorientation. For a moment, it was as if he had been transported back in time, becoming one of those children again, chasing and roughhousing with them.
The Han family's fourth daughter is truly blessed. I heard her betrothed is a scholar from the city, a man of great learning from a proper literary family.
Isn't that right?
And she's going as the official wife, too. She'll become a respectable scholar's wife in one fell swoop.
I heard the dowry the Han family sent was absolutely staggering. Dozens of carts loaded with silver ingots.
Wow, they're loaded.
The clamor of the village women's gossip jolted Han Li from his daze.
The fourth daughter of the Han family. Isn't that Xiao Mei? Could today really be the day Xiao Mei is married off?
A wave of indescribable emotion surged up within him, churning and roiling. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, Han Li ducked behind a nearby tree and fixed his gaze on the courtyard gate.
The bridal sedan's here. The grooms come to fetch the bride. The groom's out. The bride's coming out. She's out.
The children shouted, not to be outdone. Han Li's spirits lifted, and his gaze toward the courtyard gate grew increasingly eager. The wooden courtyard gate swung open, and over a dozen men and women emerged. In their midst, a young woman in a brilliant red wedding gown stepped out, surrounded by the group. The girl had a pointed chin and delicate features, looking about 16 or 17. Her face was flushed with shyness. Han Li's eyes widened as he scrutinized the girl's face. Aside from a faint familiar glimmer in the corners of her eyes and brows, there was nothing else that could connect this young woman to the little plum from his memories.
The old saying is true. A girl changes completely as she grows up.
Han Li let out a bitter laugh, then shifted his gaze to scan the people around her.
That's my third uncle, the fat one. I recognized him right away. He hasn't changed a bit. That big, dark-skinned fellow over there must be my eldest brother, Han Tai. And the woman right next to him, that should be my sister-in-law.
Han Li went down the list, as if the act itself brought him some relief. His gaze fell upon an elderly man and woman, both with hair as white as snow, and Han Li fell silent. He stood frozen behind the tree, his expression suddenly shifting into one of profound complexity.
My parents have aged far more than I ever imagined. When I left for the mountain, my mother's hair was still jet black. But now, it's already streaked with gray at her temples, and my father's once straight back is now hunched over.
Han Li remained silent, his mind a dizzy, muddled mess. He was completely unaware of everything that happened after that. When he came to, his younger sister was already seated in a brightly decorated carriage draped in red silk, disappearing into the distance. And right beside the decorated carriage, a scholar on a large, dark steed rode in close escort. Han Li stared hard at the departing parade float, then turned to gaze at his parents in the crowd. He closed his eyes. Once the faces of his parents and closest kin were etched firmly in his mind, Han Li turned sharply, his expression hardening with resolve, and strode toward the village entrance. Han Li knew deep down that when he walked out of the village entrance this time, his connection with these people would likely end right here, in this lifetime. He knew full well that ever since he began practicing the eternal spring arts and learned of the existence of cultivators, the path he was destined to walk would be utterly different from that of ordinary people.
From now on, whether it brings fortune or calamity, luck or doom, I will never regret the path I've chosen.
Lanzhou was the 8th largest prefecture among Yue's 13 provinces, but in terms of wealth and prosperity, it ranked second, surpassed only by Xinzhou. It's located in the south of Yue country, with fertile land, countless waterways, lakes and canals within its jurisdiction, and a history of favorable weather. This makes it exceptionally suitable for growing rice, ranking it as the nation's premier grain-producing region. And while not the prefectural capital of Lan Province, the city of Jiayuan, located in its central region, was nonetheless the province's largest city. The Shanglu Grand Canal, which runs north-south through the Yu Kingdom, cuts right through the city's heart. Several other major waterways converge here as well, making it a hub of transportation, a vital waterway nexus, and a key artery for trade. Every year, countless merchants and travelers pass through here, fueling the city's economic engine. That's why Jiayuan City is the largest and most prosperous in all of Lan Province. In Jiyuan City, carting companies, docks, and boathouses were incredibly numerous, spread throughout the entire city. The number of carters, laborers, and boatmen in this trade was truly staggering, easily numbering in the tens of thousands. Sun Ergo was one of those who made his living on the docks. Sun Ergo lived up to his name, with a face as crooked as his character, a real piece of work, all slanted brows and shifty eyes. But thanks to his knack for reading people and flattery, he'd managed to become a small-time gang boss on the docks. He oversaw a few dozen porters and laborers, making a living by helping merchants and travelers move their goods and luggage. Early that morning, when Sun Ergu arrived at the small dock, several of his underlings hurried over to him.
Good morning, Second Master. Welcome, Second Master.
Hearing himself addressed as Second Master, Sun Ergo couldn't help but feel a little light-headed. After all, being called Sir meant he was a man of some standing in these parts. So, he immediately put on a full show of his importance.
Second Master? That's just second dog, isn't it?
Exactly. A two-legged dog putting on airs like a man.
Sun Ergu's face darkened instantly. He slowly turned his head, his gaze sweeping over the dozens of people standing on the other side of the dock. It settled on a burly, dark-skinned man, and a flicker of bitter resentment flashed in his eyes. If you were to ask who Sun Ergu hated most in all of Jiayuan City, this big, burly man would easily rank in the top 3. No one remembered the big man's real name anymore. Folks on the docks either called him Black Master or just used his nickname, Black Bear. Black Bear was the leader of another small gang, the Iron Fist Gang. His position there was roughly equivalent to Sun Ergu's in the Siping Gang. So, he too had been sent to manage another group of laborers at this very dock. Even a single mountain can't hold 2 tigers, let alone a tiny little dock. So, from the very start, these two groups were at odds. After a few clashes over competing for merchants, their relationship only grew worse. Now, whenever they met, the two gangs would either trade insults and curses, or shove and jostle each other, stopping just short of an all-out brawl. If their underlings were like this, you can imagine how Sun Ergo and Black Bear felt about each other. Those two, well, they couldn't stand the sight of each other. But as low-ranking gang lieutenants with a bit of status, they knew their own Iron Fist Society and the Siping Gang were allied factions, currently united against another gang called the Dagon Gang. So, while both men wanted to drive the other out and monopolize the dock, they had no choice but to hold back for now. However, the resentment and anger they'd bottled up found an outlet through the verbal clashes of their subordinates. This became a daily morning ritual for the two of them.
Do you know what the dumbest creature in the animal kingdom is?
A bear.
What's the dumbest kind of bear?
That would be the black bear, of course. Black Bear, who had been listening to his underlings mock the other side with a smug look on his face, went pale with rage at those words. Black Bear's men fired back, unleashing a torrent of the filthiest insults they could muster. Sun Ergo's men, of course, didn't hold back either. They fired back with whatever insults were the most vile. As their respective leaders, Sun Ergu and Black Bear watched the scene unfold with cold detachment. They were men of some standing, after all, and couldn't possibly stoop to joining such a vulgar shouting match.
Hey, a boat's coming in.
The moment those words were spoken, the men who had been happily cursing fell silent all at once. As one, they turned to look toward the riverbank. After all, the prospect of cold, hard cash was far more important than winning a petty war of words.
Huh? What is it? It's just a little side job boat.
This thing's so small, it probably only fits 2 or 3 people at most.
What a letdown. I thought it was a big deal. Got all excited for nothing.
It's no wonder. This dock is old, small, and tucked away in a remote spot. Under normal circumstances, you'd never see a large vessel here. Only during the peak trading season, when other docks are full, would a ship be forced to make landfall at a place like this. The small boat docked, and 2 figures disembarked. One was a rather ordinary-looking young man of about 17 or 18. The other was a giant of a man, standing more than 2 heads taller than an average person. The young man wore a simple blue robe with a small yellow bird perched on his shoulder. As soon as he stepped off the boat, he began looking around in every direction. The giant, however, wore a hooded cloak and a green robe, his features obscured, giving him a rather sinister appearance. The giant followed closely behind the young man, never straying a step, looking every bit the servant or attendant. Indeed, these 2 were none other than Han Li and his sole driver. Han Li set out from his hometown, heading southeast. He traveled a long and dusty road, crossing 2 entire provinces before finally, after much hardship, reaching Lanzhou. As soon as he crossed into Lan province, Han Li was astonished by the intricate network of waterways. Back in his native Yu province, most of the land was wild hills and rugged mountains. They had no grand canals or great lakes, not even many decent-sized rivers. Water for daily use mostly came from wells and small streams. So Han Li was fascinated by the variety of boats plying the waterways. Driven by curiosity, he chartered this little skiff and got his first taste of sailing downstream. More than 10 days later, Han Li arrived without incident at the Jiayuan city mentioned in Dr. Mo's letter, finally stepping onto this unremarkable dock.